Hello everyone, and welcome to a special two-part video, at least I hope it's two parts, of my updated PS2 collection. I actually just counted how many games I've got, and I have 178 games, so quite a lot to go through. I've managed to split my collection into half, so I can do 89 per video hopefully in the space of 45 minutes, but we'll see how it goes. If I need to extend it to another part, so be it. Now, a good chunk of these games I have played, a lot of them I have not, so my knowledge of each game may be a little bit limited, so I do apologise for that. And also there are certain popular games that are not in my collection, mainly because I have the HD equivalent on the PlayStation 3 or Xbox, so Xbox 360 I should say. Okay, and let's get started. I'm actually going to start with these three as one of my favourite series, and that is the Onusha series. Onusha 1, or Warlords if you will, Onusha 2, Samurai's Destiny, and Onusha 3, Demon Siege I believe it's called, at least in America anyway. I don't have Dawn of Dreams because I don't consider it an Onusha game. I consider it an abomination, but that's just my opinion. But all these games are absolutely superb. They're third person like hack and slash action games. They work similar to Resident Evil. Actually, as a matter of fact, Capcom were actually working on a Resident Evil game called Resident Evil Samurai, I believe it was called, and then it turned out it came to be the Onusha series, much like Devil May Cry was a previous incarnation of Resident Evil 4. So yeah, and I absolutely love all of these games. I feel that they get better with each iteration, but they're all worth picking up. I've also got a little tub here that I can put the games inside when I'm done, as to create enough space. Next up we have a sports game, and that is Pro Evolution Soccer 3. I was a huge fan of this series during starting with the PS1 era when it was called ISS, and then on the PS2 there were like two versions of this series. One was ISS, and then one was like this new series called Pro Evolution Soccer, or PES if you will. And I ended up playing in a lot of tournaments here in the UK. I wasn't the best, but I had one or two scalps against some good players, and I played the first one right up to number 6, and then 2008 was just terrible, and I sort of stopped from there. But this one's my absolute favourite, hence why this is the only one I have in my collection. So yeah, really good football game if you're into like football or soccer, if you will. Next up we have Tenchu Wrath of Heaven. I have not played this one, however I have played Tenchu Z or Tenchu Z on the Xbox 360, so I pretty much know what I'm getting myself into. I believe you can play as 2 characters, and this is also a stealth type game similar to like Splinter Cell, Hitman, Metal Gear Solids, you know. Next up we have Ghost Hunter. It's one of my more recent purchases. This is actually from the same team who made Primal, Cambridge Studios, who worked for Sony Computer Entertainment Europe at the time. This is kind of like you play as this guy and you like capture ghosts throughout different levels. I haven't actually played this one, but I've seen footage. It looks okay, if a little bit dated, but I'm willing to give this one an opportunity when I get that opportunity. Next up we have Rogue Galaxy. This is actually made by Level 5, who created one of my favourite games of all time, that is Dark Chronicle, also Dark Cloud and Ni no Kuni on the PS3. This is not one I haven't played, but it's a JRPG. It's really long, so I probably won't play this one for quite some time, but I'm definitely looking forward to it because I've heard very good things about it. Another one of my favourite series. Next up we have Yakuza 1 and Yakuza 2. Now, these are why if you loved the Shenmue games on the Dreamcast and were looking for something of that ilk, then this series is the closest you're ever going to get until a new Shenmue comes out. You know, if that ever is going to happen, but we'll see. But yeah, the Yakuza series is has a really interesting storyline. You play as Kazuma Kiryu, who ends up in the first game getting framed for a murder he didn't commit on a sort of gang leader, mafia leader, I believe it is, and basically you take the fall for two of your friends, and you end up being in jail for like 10 years, and then 10 years later is where the game properly starts, and there are many twists and turns. It's open world to a point. You can sort of travel around this sort of city, and it has like beat 'em up elements as well, where where it's like random encounters, and then you end up fighting these like gangs and whatnot, and mafia members, and earning experience. You can like upgrade stuff like your health and like certain moves, or like your heat gauge, which is like your sort of special move meter. And yeah, it's a really entertaining game. Fantastic music as well. For me, this and Yakuza 3 are my personal favourites. Yakuza 2 is a little bit weird in where it goes with the story, mainly because after you beat this game and move on to the third game, all sort of ties with the second game are kind of cut. I don't know if this was like a different team working on this or a different director, and then someone else came in with the third game and sort of wanted to go somewhere different. But it's still a fantastic game. It's a lot tougher than the first one, and even the third one, I'd say. But it's still a really good series, and one I highly recommend if you've never played it before. Next up, we have Timesplitters 2, one of my personal favourite games of the PS2 era. Also available on GameCube and Xbox. This is a first-person shooter made by the same team who made, certain members who made GoldenEye in the N64 by Free Radical. And yeah, it's a fantastic first-person shooter. There's a story mode which is okay. It's not the best. I feel that Future Perfect did do a better job of the story mode. But where this really shines is the arcade mode, where there's certain different objectives you can do, like how quickly can you throw bricks through a certain number of windows, and various like different mini games like that. But where this really shines is the multiplayer. You can play as many different characters, including a monkey with a Gatling gun. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? But yeah, really fantastic game. If you have a lot of friends and want to play something fun, like a fun multiplayer game, this is definitely one of the best recommendations I can give you. Next up, we have The Warriors. This is a third-person action game from Rockstar, and this is based on the 1970, I believe it was released, movie of the same name. And It actually starts off as a prequel to the movie, and then as you go along to like the end of the game, it actually follows the actual storyline of the movie itself, and it's really fun. It's 2-player co-op as well, so if you have a friend, then definitely worth playing, and has a really good battle system as well, and really good atmosphere, music and whatnot. So definitely one of Rockstar's best on the PS2. Very underrated game. Next up we have something of a guilty pleasure. This is Leisure Suit Larry Magna Cum Laude. This is a adventure game with a sort of twist. Basically, you play as Larry, and you sort of go through college trying to trying to score with like various different women who are out to be honest, out of this guy's league. But he always finds a way to make it happen. It's interesting when you're like talking to these women. There's like this sort of mini game where you play as like this sperm, and you have to sort of move it like a sort of classic 2D like shoot 'em up, and have to get to like these certain icons. And it's an odd one, but I feel that it's the best worst game I've played on the PS2. I know that there were like other games for like 360 and PS3, but they were like truly bad. But this one's pretty decent. Next up we have Tekken 4. This is a 2D/3D, well, more 3D like fighting game on a 2D plane, but you can sort of move in and out of the background. I really enjoy this series because of its crazy story with the like Heihachi and Mishima and Kazuya, who are just constantly like battling each other. And like throwing each other off of into volcanoes and stuff. But it's not just about them. It's several different characters like Paul and Martial Law, King, Craig Marduk, Howang, who has the funniest cutscene probably of all time in this game. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For me, this was the weakest one in the series at this point. But it's still very entertaining. There's a lot of different characters you can play as and unlock their endings and stuff. And yeah, it's a pretty solid fighting game. Next up we have Shinobi. This one I haven't. I played a couple of levels, and it's pretty good. It's very simple yet difficult to master. It's a third-person action game. You have very limited sort of moves you can do. You can like throw shurikens, glide onto walls, which is fun but is difficult to get right. There's like a sort of special move you can do if you defeat all the enemies at the same time. You get this cool little cutscene, and there's like bosses at the end of almost every level, I'd say, and it's a pretty good reimagining of the Shinobi, classic Shinobi games on the I believe the Mega Drive. I think not 100% on that. Next up, we have Silent Hill for the Room. This is a survival horror game. Not many people's favourites. I played a little bit of it myself, and it seems a little bit too weird for me personally, but I will definitely come back to it at some point and give it another chance. It's basically you're in this room, like stuck in this room, and you have to sort of figure out what's going on in this like apartment or city, and a lot of messed up things happen. I've seen Let's Plays of this, and there are certain sections where I'm just like, what the hell? I think there's like one section with a giant head in it, and yeah, that's kind of creepy. If you've seen the room I mean, then you know what I'm on about. Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30. This is a first-person shooter set in World War II. This one's a little bit more tactical than your Medal of Honors / Call of Duties. I played a few levels, and it's not bad. It's not bad. It's squad based as well, so you sort of you play as like the main sergeant, and you have to sort of lead your group of soldiers, like try and flank enemy soldiers and whatnot. And yeah, it's a refreshing change to the World War II genre, like FPS genre, I should say. Next up, we have We Love Katamari. This is a very unique game. You play as the young prince of a sort of like king of the universe, and your job is to roll up certain things to make up planets. I know it sounds absolutely insane because it is, but it is it's a very addictive game. There's a variety of different levels. The music is absolutely superb, and yeah, it's one of my favourite sort of sleeper hit series, I guess you could say, games out there. I also have Katamari Forever on the PS3, and I love that too. So yeah, really, really good game. Just one moment, I'm just going to sort out this cup here. There we go, sorry about that. Next up we have Dynasty Warriors 3. I've never played a Dynasty Warriors game before. I've heard that this is one of the better ones, and I look forward to playing it at some point. I don't really have... I know it's based on sort of ancient history, I guess, Japanese history. I've not actually played one of these games, so my knowledge is very limited, unfortunately. So, but it looks funny. You sort of take out wave after wave of enemies, and a lot of crazy stuff sort of happens in it. Next up is Boo Jin guy, I believe it's called. It's sort of like Shinobi, where you play as a ninja, and I've seen a lot of footage of this where it's like a lot of crazy sort of animations of action you can do, and yeah, it looks pretty fun. I've heard it's quite short as well, so which is always a plus because I've got so many games at the moment. So the shorter is the better. Next up is my favourite game of all time, and that is Ico, or Eco. This is a third-person platformer, where the platformer / puzzle game, where the puzzle is this castle that you're trapped in itself. You play as Ico, and you're sent to this closed off world, well, castle I should say, where you've been sort of left there to die because you've been considered a freak or an outsider, and you managed to break free from the tomb that you've been enclosed in, and over time you find this other character called Yorda, and together you, with your sort of like platforming skills and Yorda's ability to open certain doors and locks, you sort of fight, well, not fight, I mean there is a little bit of combat but not too much. You try and sort of find your way out of the castle, and basically make it to the outside world. So yeah, it's a really charming atmospheric game with really nice sound effect. There's not a lot of music in it, but when there is, it really does mean something. So yeah, absolutely fantastic game. Next up we have Tekken V. This is another beat 'em up in the Tekken series. I think this one is slightly better than Tekken 4 because they sorted out a lot of the fighting mechanics, gave it a new sort of lease of life. There's also the Tekken Force mode that was originally released for, I believe it was Tekken 3, or if not Tekken 4. But they sort of flesh out a little bit more. I do feel it was only until Tekken 6 where they sort of really made it, interesting enough to play. But it's still there and it's still decent. So next up we have my most expensive PS2 purchase, and that is Michigan Report from Hell. You basically play as this cameraman who works for a news reporting team in America, and you're basically trying to uncover these like mysterious happenings in Michigan, and you have like various different reporters, most of them female, most of them sexy, and basically there are some certain moments where they are in danger, and you can choose to help them out, or you can be a complete bastard and keep filming and basically watch them die. And it's a really interesting game. It's made by Suda51, and he makes some really out there games that I absolutely adore. So yeah, it's a really really good game. It's kind of hard to find, hence why it's so expensive. So if you do get it, you will not regret it. Regret the purchase. Next up we have Chaos Legion, another game I've not played. I've heard it's similar to both Devil May Cry and Dynasty Warriors, so that seems pretty interesting. XMen Legends. This is one I played quite a bit. I've beaten, I'd say, 5 or 6 levels. This is actually a 4-player beat 'em up game, so in an isometric view similar to the Baldur's Gate series, or Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and you control 7 different X-Men like Wolverine, Cyclops, who else? Storm, Rogue. So my mind just drew a blank there. And it's got a really interesting story. You find this girl called Allison, and she sort of finds out that she has like these unique powers, and both the X-Men and Magneto's mutants are both trying to get hold of her to use her powers for both good and evil, depending on who gets her. And yeah, it's a really interesting story. I have not played the second one, but I've heard it's even better, so I look forward to that. Next up we have the Red Star. I've not played this one either. This is a 2-player sort of beat 'em up / shoot 'em up game. It's sort of like a mixture of the beat 'em up genre like Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, whatever, and shmups like Gradius and Ikaruga. So yeah, it's an interesting mix, and I look forward to playing this when I get the chance. Next up we have Primal. This is a game I have beaten very recently. Another game from Cambridge Studios. This is a third-person adventure / puzzle game. You play as both Jen, this lady here, and also Screen, and you basically work together, use your differing skills to sort of get through like these 4 different worlds, where Jen can actually morph into 4 different beasts, if you will, all with varying different abilities. So I can't even speak at the moment. And what I will say is the best part of this game is the voice acting, the music. The combat, I would say, is the weakest element of this game, but definitely the story, and at certain times the visuals do look nice, although certain textures do look a bit blocky and uninspired. But the game itself is definitely worth it. It's quite a long one, about 10 hours or so, but a really good game. Highly recommend it. I would say it's definitely one of the hidden gems of the PS2 era. Next up we have Cold Fear. This is a third-person survival horror based on a boat. So Resident Evil Revelations has a lot to owe this game. I played it for a little bit. It seems pretty interesting. It's published by Ubisoft, and I played it for a little bit, and I sort of got stuck fairly early on, and I haven't gone back to it since. But for what I played, I'm fairly impressed. So yeah, just one minute. I'm just going to sort out my little storage bin. There we are. Next up we have Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. This is part of the Grand Theft Auto series on the PS2. This is actually a prequel to GTA 3. This was originally a PlayStation Portable game, and it's not bad. It's not as good as the main GTA games on the PS2, but it's still worth it if you love that series. So yeah. You play as Tony Cipriani, who is one of the characters you interact with in GTA 3. Next up is Gran Turismo 3. This is a driving simulation game. I didn't really play this all that much, although I do owe my love of the band Feeder to this game, because a lot of their tracks I heard for the first time whilst playing this game, so I definitely love it for that reason alone. But it's still a very good driving simulator. I personally believe that Forza is like the better driving simulation game, but even so, this is still an excellent series if you like that sort of thing. Next up we have Guitar Man. This is a rhythm-based game where you are this boy called U1, and you go through various different levels playing this guitar. It's like a sort of almost like a rhythm-based game crossed with a beat 'em up, where you strum your guitar to like attack the enemy to drain their health down. But there also is moments where you have to press the certain face buttons in order to defend your health bar. So it's a pretty interesting game. It's kind of odd, but really fantastic music. Some of the best tracks you'll ever hear on the PS2 or in any game, to be honest. So. Next up we have Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. I have not actually played this one, but it's very reminiscent of the classic Outrun on the Mega Drive and the Game Gear, which is the version I played back in the day. Absolutely loved it. And there's a lot of different modes, like races, like time attack mode, stuff like that, and looks really fun. I'm sure I'll enjoy that one. Next up we have Need for Speed Underground 2, a game I've played very little of, but it does actually remind me of a game I played recently on the PS4 called The Crew, and yeah, it looks really good. A lot of modifications to your cars you can make, a very open world driving game, and a pretty diverse soundtrack from what I've heard. So yeah, it looks decent. I look forward to playing more of that. Next up we have Driver Parallel Lines. This is another open world driving game. This was the game after Driver 3, which disappointed many, myself included. This one does seem to be a little bit better, but I'll be honest, I'm a little bit unimpressed so far. It doesn't really do that much that decent compared to Driver San Francisco, which I absolutely love. So, but I will persevere with this. So, yep. Next up is 007 Everything or Nothing. Now, unlike the other 007 games, this is a third person shooter, and there's actually a lot of celebrities in this game, like Shannon Elizabeth, Anna Friel. Of course, you have Pierce Brosnan as Bond, and also John Cleese as Q, and Judi Dench as M. And yeah, so I would probably say this is my favourite, just because it tries something a little bit different to the other games. Oh wait, actually, yeah, From Russia with Love, the game after this, was also third person. So, but yeah, the ones before that, Nightfire and Agent Unfire, were first person. So this was the first one that did the first person shooter versions of 007. So, but yeah, this is my personal favourite. Apple. Next up is Psychonauts, from the mind of Tim Schafer, who is very famous for the Monkey Island series and Grim Fandango, Day of the Tentacle, and many others. And this is a third-person action adventure game, and you play as Raz, and you basically go into minds of other psychonauts and try and figure out what is actually wrong with them. And I would say that this game has some of the most unique, colourful, and just downright weird worlds I've ever seen in a game. And yeah, it's absolutely superb. Fantastic voice acting, music. There are certain parts where the platforming doesn't quite hold up, especially on the last level, which is absolute hell. But other than that, really, really good game. Definitely one of the hidden gems on the PS2. Another hidden gem for me is Psyops, the Mindgate Conspiracy. This actually came out before the Force Unleashed games, and in my opinion, this is better. You play as Nick Squire, who is this soldier who has psychic powers, stuff like telekinesis, pyrokinesis, the ability to drain enemies' minds to get psychic. This sort of, you have to fill up this like gauge for your psychic powers, and you do that by draining other soldiers like brains, basically. And if they're still alive, you can actually make them explode, which is pretty wild. You can also mind control certain enemies. You can sort of make them like jump off a bridge, for example, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, it's a third-person shooter. I feel that the shooting mechanics are solid, but I feel it's the psychic abilities that do make this game an absolute classic. And yeah, if you try to like stand on an item and like raise it up, basically you do this thing that we like to call side surfing if you played this game before, and yeah, it's really nothing like doing something like that. Next up we have Clock Tower 3. This is another survival horror game. I have not played it because I am a wuss when it comes to survival horror games, but it's something that I want to work on at some point, and I am playing a couple at the moment, and yeah, I look forward to playing this one. I've seen videos of it. It's pretty terrifying at times. Next up is Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter. This is a FPS set in space. It's sort of like the PS2's answer to the Halo, although I think it might have been on the Xbox as well. The main character is actually voiced by Henry Rollins, who is like a musician slash actor. Sorry, I can't even talk now. And yeah, it's pretty solid. It's quite hard as well, which took me by surprise. But yeah, it's a pretty decent game. Actually, I'm going to end it there for now because my phone's running out of battery. So thank you for watching part 1 of this PS2 collection, and I'll see you for the next part.